On May 7th, 2024, you arrive at the office. Tell us what happened that morning.
Like every morning, I arrived at the office around 9 o'clock. After about half an hour, more or less, someone rings the doorbell. The secretary goes to open the office door and she calls for me. I go down. There was a bailiff, a person in a suit I didn't know, and two police officers. They asked me if we could go into a meeting room, which we did. We went into the meeting room and they officially served me the court order, and they explained, that is to say, the provisional administrator, Mr. Steinmetz, explained to me in a few words what the order signified, what it meant, and that it was a very large summons, approximately 300 pages, and that I would need time and lawyers to read all of it. Well, I didn't just let him leave like that, and we spoke briefly together, and he explained to me that from now on he was the one in charge as the provisional administrator, and that the order gave him this power, and that the entire board of directors, myself and all the other directors, are relieved of their power and their obligations. The only obligation we still had was to answer him in case he had questions for the former boards. With that, it ended quite quickly, and he also informed me that indeed we would no longer receive mail, that all mail would be diverted and would go directly to him, and if there were any questions, he would get back to us. That was the last time, the first and the last time that I heard from the provisional administrator in person, or even by email or anything else.
Concretely, what did the judge order? What measures? On which companies? And with what immediate effects for these companies?
The judge appointed a provisional administrator who takes control over the GP, the general partner of the companies they manage. That means today, the general partner is the one who makes all the decisions for the operating companies they manage. And from that moment on, the provisional administrator is the one with immediate control, and we are relieved of our duties. The order, more specifically, what else did it mandate? It stated that no more financial flows between the GP and the companies it manages were allowed to take place. That is to say today, to put it simply, a company that must work without being able to be paid, which is an absurdity to me, but that's what the order defined. I think those are the main things. In addition to that, she also ordered that all the funds, everything is frozen, everything must be held, all assets are to be seized, attachments, so that everything stays exactly where it is. That means they were measures of a preventive measure to keep everything right where it was. Meaning the mission for the provisional administrator was to maintain all assets and to ensure that the assets remain exactly where they are.
Who was Octogone? And at whose request were these measures ordered? This within the context of a procedure where the targeted companies were not even given a hearing.
Well, Octogone is, as the name suggests, Octogone, it's 8 people. These 8 people are both current partners and former partners of the service provider Grant Thornton, which, as you may recall, was originally our primary service provider. These individuals have all worked with Grant Thornton in some capacity, either in the past or currently as partners.
Octogone chose an emergency procedure. Did the situation justify it, in your opinion?
In my view, it wasn't justified at all, because they forgot to mention to the summary judge that they'd already launched a procedure in civil court in 2021, which they themselves dropped. They didn't pursue the matter for a reason we don't know, or no, I do know, because they knew very well it wouldn't lead anywhere. And they reintroduced a new order with some additions at the end of 2023. And it's with this argument that they convinced the summary judge to say, there's a civil action in progress, but there's an urgent need to act so that the money and the real estate doesn't disappear. And that's how they justified using the unilateral summary procedure.
The very day after Octogone's petition, Grant Thornton went to court to seek the bankruptcy of GCM over an invoice of about 300,000 euros. Coincidence, in your opinion?
In life, there are no coincidences. Today, if you analyze the order carefully, the order clearly stated that the GP could no longer have any financial flows, neither incoming nor outgoing. The GP is a company that is a service provider. There is There are money flows coming in and going out. Without that, the principle doesn't work. It's not a company that holds a lot of cash, that holds enough cash to operate. So what happened in this specific case then? Meaning this money being requested is actually an incoming and outgoing item for the GP. Meaning the GP pays it, then must re-invoice it to the entities it manages, because it's not, the invoice isn't for them, it's just that the money comes in and then goes out. But the order by itself blocked this principle. That is to say, the GP was not in a position to ask for the money from the one who owed the money, and that's why it went bankrupt.
What effects did the combination of these two procedures have on GCM?
Well, the two procedures, we know them today. The consequences were that GCM, Greenfield Capital Management, went bankrupt, and de facto all the companies it managed were without a captain on board once again. That means there was no longer a manager for all these companies. Consequently, the provisional administrator proclaimed himself the GP of all the companies he managed. And from then on, from the start, he was in charge and fully responsible for all the companies he managed.